In a perfect world, insurance companies would always do the right thing. Yet in reality, the industry harbors a dirty little secret. People are giving them money for something they will never receive. What that really means is they're selling uncollectible insurance. Insurance companies rule our country. They control our banking. Look at AIG, too big to fail. They own Wall Street. They catch a virus and Wall Street has diarrhea for a week. And when interest rates fall and their investments earnings plummet, then they run to Congress and scream tort reform. Lawsuits are killing us, they scream, and those greedy trial lawyers are to blame by filing frivolous lawsuits and convincing ignorant juries to dole out obscene verdicts. But ironically, what you don't know until now is that insurance companies regularly and deliberately invite lawsuits whenever the cost and hassles for a third-party claimant look to exceed all potential for recovery. Rather than just doing the right thing, too many insurers prefer to play a game of litigation chicken, a frivolous lawsuit strategy in reverse. Don't like it? Sue me. And while insurance companies play rough with consumers, they play even rougher with each other. Take the process of subrogation, for example. Here you have one insurance company making a claim against another. Rather than the sue me response, the greetings afforded a subrogation claim usually start with a two-word expletive. Still, that does not make this game right whether played against consumers or other insurance companies. A dollar saved owing only to a claimant's sense of pragmatism and threshold for litigation is not a dollar earned in any traditional sense. It is more like a dollar stolen, and it happens all the time.
In this insider exclusive Justice in America Network TV special, our news team visits with Amber Mostyn and Greg Cox at the Mostyn Law Firm in Houston, Texas, who are representing hundreds of American citizens in Puerto Rico whose lives were totally upended and altered forever on September 20th, 2017, when Hurricane Maria struck Puerto Rico, devastating the island and plunging all of its 3.4 million residents into a desperate humanitarian crisis. Hurricane Maria was the worst storm to strike the island of Puerto Rico in over 80 years. The scale of Maria's destruction has been devastating, causing an estimated $100 billion in damages. Thousands have been forced to drain their savings, close their businesses, or resign themselves to living with structural damage as they fight insurance companies over millions of dollars worth of claims that have gone unanswered or unpaid for nearly 2 years after Hurricane Maria struck. Mostyn Law is no stranger to bad faith insurance disaster claims. They've taken on big insurance companies, exposed the fraud and corruption that insurance companies and their adjusters perpetrate on innocent policyholders. They successfully went to bat against the insurance companies to make sure they paid the legitimate claims of many of the 2012 Hurricane Superstorm Sandy disaster victims. CBS's 60 Minutes featured that successful battle against these big, heartless insurance companies, exposing the insurance companies' rampant fraud and forcing the insurance companies to honor their policies and pay hundreds of millions of dollars of rightfully owed insurance claims to their victimized clients. Here's Amber Mostyn and Greg Cox explaining how Mostyn Law Firm is not only helping these victims get justice, but also helping to make sure new legislation is passed to protect policyholders in the future.
The Mostyn Law Firm is uniquely qualified to represent the people of Puerto Rico in their Hurricane Maria claims against their insurance companies, because we've been doing this for years and we've gone up against a lot of big insurance companies in a lot of big storms. Superstorm Sandy, Hurricane Ike, we represent people in Hurricane Harvey.
At the Mostyn Law Firm, we are uniquely qualified to handle the claims of the victims of Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico for several reasons. We have a lot of experience in handling similar claims through stateside hurricanes. I believe we've represented over 19,000 individuals and small businesses.
Multinational companies, insurance companies, they're looking at the bottom line. Insurance companies particularly, their business model is to take in more premiums than they pay out. Really, the only way to get justice, if you've been harmed by an insurance company, if they won't pay your claim, even though you've been paying your premiums, is to hold them accountable at the courthouse.
A lot of people that I deal with in insurance situations don't want to file lawsuits. That's usually their last resort. They've usually exhausted other avenues by pursuing help through the companies, sometimes through state agencies or through their insurance agent, and they've run into a brick wall. Don't really have any other resort except to hire an attorney and to go to court, because that is the one thing that gives you the power to control your own case, that you're not going to go away until the problem is solved, and that they need to pay attention to you and your situation.
The people of Puerto Rico and the island of Puerto Rico have been through a lot, and Hurricane Maria seemed like the last straw for many of the people there. But I want them to know that there's hope, that we can help them with their insurance claims, and there is a brighter future on the other side of it.
There are lawyers and law firms like the Mostyn Law Firm that are here to help them and to try to put them back to where they were before the storm.
This is the Insider Exclusive, live from Houston, Texas. It is my great pleasure to introduce Amber Mostyn and Greg Cox to the show. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Tell our audience a little bit about your law firm. What type of law do you practice and why?
Well, the Mostyn Law Firm primarily represents people and small businesses and churches whenever they've been injured in some way, like whether it's by a defective product or after a major storm, if they're trying to get their life back together and their insurance company doesn't pay them, we represent them to help them get back on their feet.
Today we are here talking directly about one of these disaster cases, which your law firm has gotten involved with over the years many, many times, right?
Yes.
Tell our audience a little bit about the facts of Hurricane Maria, which happened, about 2 years ago?
It did.
Bring us up to date of what's going on.
First, Hurricane Irma made landfall in Puerto Rico, and then just shortly after, in September of 2017, Hurricane Maria came along and devastated the island of Puerto Rico. They were left without power and major infrastructure for, in some places, over a year.
Now, the reason we're doing this show is because many of these people, many of these victims of the hurricane had insurance. They were insured by various carriers, one of which has gone bankrupt. The other ones you are currently litigating, right, representing these people. It would seem to the average person, having never gone through one of these catastrophes, that if you pay your policy and you have an insurance policy in effect, and your boots on the ground in Puerto Rico, you spend more time than anybody there, right? Why aren't the insurance companies paying the policy?
They're making all kinds of promises to people to sell policies. Well, that's the easy part for them.
Right.
The hard part is when something actually does happen, and when something as devastating as Hurricane Maria hits a small island like Puerto Rico, there's not a lot of infrastructure to go around. And so the insurance companies don't really come forward quickly. They have a lot of delays. They have a lot of institutional problems because from my experience and seeing what has happened on the ground in Puerto Rico, they just weren't prepared for this. And it seems sort of shocking to me that if you live on a tropical island in the Caribbean and you hear about hurricanes hitting Florida and all these other islands around you all the time, how could you not be prepared?
Yeah. What are your clients saying to you about, it's 2 years since a lot of them have been compensated at all, right? I mean, they're still living, many of them are still living without power, right? Right. In the rural areas. What are they saying to you?
Well, the first thing they come in, a lot of the people, when we first meet them, they've been to a lot of other people looking for help, and they've been turned away, from governmental agencies, sometimes charities, the federal government. A lot of these people have been, knocking on 2 or 3 doors asking for help. They've gone to their agent. They've gone to the insurance company. They will actually go to the insurance company and knock on doors, and they're literally turned away and told, we're not here. There's nobody here that can help you. And they can see people on the other side of the glass door sitting there and ignoring them. And they come to us, and a lot of them are really desperate. They've tried. It's not that they're
They were
not
patient. They were very patient.
There has been, I think there's 3.4 million people that were affected by this hurricane, right? I think what I admire a lot about your law firm is the fact that not only are you handling these claims, but also you have provided the initiative to change legislation. Is that correct?
We did.
What has exactly been done?
Well, when we first got to Puerto Rico and we're looking at evaluating claims and looking for some partners to work with on the ground there, we realized that the laws that were in place were not sufficient to protect the people of Puerto Rico against the bad faith practices of the insurance company.
What were those laws that were ineffective then?
The business model of an insurance company is to take in more premiums than they pay out in policy benefits. And so there has to be some sort of mechanism to hold them to the contract that they sign with the policyholder. And that just wasn't in place in Puerto Rico before November of 2017. We went in and worked with some legislators there to get some laws put in place to protect the people of Puerto Rico in situations like Hurricane Maria, where you've had devastation and the insurance companies do not want to live up to their promise.
I think the most important change that we were able to work with the legislature to put in is the fact that individuals and small businesses can now hire their own private attorneys and enforce the laws, the laws that regulate insurance companies and claims handling practices. The way the law was before, only the insurance commissioner had the right to go after these companies. And just like every other state agency, the insurance commissioner in Puerto Rico was just understaffed, underfunded, and overwhelmed. And they also didn't have enough resources to handle the 200,000 to 300,000 claims that poured in within 30 days of this hurricane.
So now that these new laws have been passed, they're not retroactive, correct?
In some ways they are.
They are in some ways, yes, sir.
So how many people do you represent roughly in Puerto Rico?
Several hundred. I don't have the most updated numbers.
These are businesses and residents.
We have the whole range from the very small claims for homeowners and personal property damage, all the way up to large corporate interests and churches and other interests.
And there were a lot of lawyers there in Puerto Rico who were only looking to represent the big hotels and the big businesses. And it was important to us when we went in that we were going to represent everybody.
That's one of the first commitments that Amber made when we met with people there on the ground. The first question is, why are you here and what can you do to help us? And Amber was very clear that we weren't just there to come in and cherry pick the most valuable claims, the big corporate interests, things like that. She made a commitment that we were going to represent individual homeowners as well as other interests.
Now that the new legislation has been passed, are these insurance companies acting any differently prior to this change?
It's taking some time for them to realize that it's a little bit different now. We really saw abuses across the board with the insurance industry. I mean, in Puerto Rico specifically, they really were just telling people, we know we owe you this much money, but we're only going to send you a quarter of that. Too bad. What are you going to do about it? So it's been a process to educate them about what the new laws are, and that we're not going to go away. We're going to stay with our clients to the end of this fight.
I've seen a variety of reactions depends on the insurance company. Some of them are starting to come around to the fact that they now have to deal with this changed situation. They have to put the practices into their company to address this. Some of them are still trying to ignore it, act like it doesn't exist, or just to delay, and they use the delay as another litigation tactic, just like they used in the claims handling process, to purposefully slow down claims to where the individual or the business becomes so desperate that they either give up completely and go away, or they take whatever offer they can get. And that is a tactic that I've seen time and time again being deployed in Puerto Rico.
What about the people I've read that there were many, many people that left Puerto Rico, went to Florida, other places, okay? They had property losses, right? can we send a message out to them that even though they've abandoned those properties, they still have legitimate claims?
Well, I wouldn't say they've abandoned them. You know, we've seen a variety of different situations in Puerto Rico where they have somebody come in and live there, or, you know, I mean, I wouldn't say they've abandoned them. They've moved on to where they can find a job and care for their family. Whether it be in Florida, we have a large population of Puerto Ricans here in Houston, which is actually the basis of how we got it really interested in helping people in Puerto Rico. We have employees who are from Puerto Rico. Right. And so we were watching Hurricane Maria through their eyes and trying to reach out and help them with their relatives in Puerto Rico's rebuilding and recovery efforts. And that's how we really had the connection to Puerto Rico. But I do think it's important, if you are a Puerto Rican who's living stateside and you have property or relatives who have property and need help, that they contact us, contact an attorney who can help them navigate that process now where it is, particularly with the new legislation.
Yeah, from a legal perspective, the claim and the litigation are pretty much set once the storm or the loss event happens, and it's based on the insurance policy that was in effect at that time. The fact that you don't renew your policy or you move to another home, that doesn't change the fact that you have still the legitimate claim that arose when the house or the business was damaged by Hurricane Maria. That's the trigger event.
And that includes homes have mortgages, right?
Yes.
Banks have been foreclosing on properties, haven't they?
That's something we've seen as well.
So that includes even if you owned a property and the bank's already foreclosed and you still suffered a loss, did you?
You can still make that claim a lot of times. Sometimes it depends on how the mortgage is structured. And in Puerto Rico, they have a much more integrated system where the banks in Puerto Rico actually sell insurance policies. So sometimes people are being hit in a two-step process, and it makes it even more difficult for them to try to get their homes rebuilt.
Right. Now, your law firm is not a novice to these disasters. You've been featured on 60 Minutes with the Superstorm Sandy. And is this the same kind of behavior that you see these insurance companies doing not only in the United States, but also in Puerto Rico?
Same song, second verse.
Yeah, and to a much greater extent.
Well, you know, it comes to mind when you think, okay, these are policyholders, right? I mean, they have legitimate claims, and yet the insurance companies, they know that if they deny, they delay, and then they defend their position, which is based on fraud, as far as I'm concerned, right? That they can save money, right?
All right.
How do we change this?
Well, we start with the systematic changes that we talked about, the changes with the legislature to give the individuals the right to control their own recourse, to be able to hire their own private attorneys and not just rely on a governmental agency that's understaffed and overwhelmed. We've given, and the legislature of Puerto Rico has given the individuals the power to help themselves.
Right.
But many of them still have to take that step of reaching out and hiring an attorney that's willing to take on their case and willing to put the resources into their case and fight for them. And that's probably where we are right now on the front lines. That's where we are at this point.
Well, and truthfully, the insurance companies won't change their behavior until you hold them accountable. So once people hold them accountable, take them to the courthouse if you have to, and make them pay what they owe under the contract that they signed, they won't change their behavior systematically. They make a calculation. It'll be cheaper for us to, as you said, delay, deny, and then defend than just to pay a valid claim at the beginning. So you have to change that calculus for them.
You know, it's interesting when you say delay, deny, delay, defend. Not too many people know this, but insurance companies sue more people than any other corporate entity or any plaintiff lawyer in the United States.
Part of their business model.
Right. In fact, I read someplace that State Farm has the 6th largest legal staff of any corporation in the United States.
I would not be surprised.
So let's talk about, this is classified as bad faith insurance. What is bad faith insurance? How do you define that?
Simply put, it's when the insurance company puts its interest above that of the policyholder. In a nutshell, that's what it is. And the way you see that in practice, and most people that have been through a difficult insurance claim can attest to this, you see it where they try to leverage you into taking a smaller amount. They try to delay you so that you get so desperate that you have no choice but to accept their offer. or deny the claim and then hope you just go away, like you've alluded to earlier. Some people just give up because they're frustrated, they've been through a lot, and that's bad faith.
They need the money.
Well, yes.
I saw that in Katrina with people living in these FEMA trailers, right? And they had no money, they had no job, their business had been destroyed. They might have had a legitimate claim for $150,000. The insurance company offered them a $10,000 check today.
And in Puerto Rico, one of the worst bad faith tactics that I've seen there, that's worse than even what I've experienced here in stateside hurricanes, is when the insurance company would come in and make that lowball offer, they would require the insured to sign a release.
Right.
They would get them in a situation where they had them over a barrel, and then they would say, we'll pay you $10,000 or $5,000, but only if you sign this today and give up all your other claims. You can't come back to us. You can't try to fix it later if you do decide that you should have gone for more.
We talked before the show, and as you're saying this right now, I am thinking again and again, this is criminal. Nothing's being done about it. Why?
Yeah, I think what Amber was saying earlier is they probably will until the system makes it so expensive for them that they learn their lesson. And that's part of what we're trying to do. We have individual claims, obviously, and there are numerous individual claims. But something that we've done to try to change the system as a whole is we have filed a couple of class action lawsuits. And those lawsuits basically allow an individual or a small group of individuals or companies to represent a broader population. Sometimes it could be thousands or tens of thousands of individuals that they represent. And really the purpose of the class action is to try to make systematic change, to put enough pain behind the lesson so that the insurance companies learn from it. When they have to address thousands of claims instead of a few dozen, that gets their attention, and hopefully that will be enough to change the way they do business.
Are there some insurance companies that are paying their claims?
There are some.
There are.
Yeah, there are some. There's not a lot. But some of them are starting now to meet with us, and they realize that once we get involved, that the individual homeowner knows their rights. They know about these new laws, because that's part of the problem with the new laws that were passed and the rights that were given to the individuals. If they don't know about those rights,
They're useless.
They're useless. They aren't using them. And so that's part of our challenge.
Yeah, let's talk about cause and effect. Sometimes people who do not have money, they die. They can't buy the medicine that they need, right? This has happened in Puerto Rico a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I think the deaths have been estimated at something like 3,000.
Some estimates north of 4,000 at this point.
When you reach a settlement or the insurance company pays, is it just the policy, or do they have to pay any additional amount as a punitive?
It's not deemed punitive necessarily, but that's part of the changes in the law for bad faith. One of the most valuable tools that has been given to the individual is the right to claim not just the contract benefits, not just what they would have been paid if the insurance company had showed up right after the storm and written the checks they should have written. It gives them the right to seek recovery for the expenses that they incurred, such as the attorney fees, which is a big factor to some people. They don't have the money to hire the attorney, so they can recover that from the insurance company. But also, if you can show that there's some other loss that was caused by the delay or the underpayment, you can get those damages as well. And that's what we call bad faith damages. That's the result of these changes in the law.
Which could be a multiple of the amount of money that they were legitimate.
It could be, yes.
It can be multiples. I don't think there's necessarily in Puerto Rico a defined multiplier effect yet, but their law is pretty broad. It allows you any damages that you can prove resulted from the bad faith conduct, you can get those damages.
In kind of a fortunate way, the reason that the new legislation was passed in Puerto Rico was because everybody was affected.
Right.
When you only have a small group of people, nobody really cares.
No, it definitely, it was an island-wide event. Every single person on the island was affected in some way. And so you have a real understanding in Puerto Rico, particularly in the legislature and the judiciary, which is important to us when we're trying to improve the legal system there, improve the legislation, and make sure people get compensated the way they should. You had a real understanding that what the insurance companies were doing was wrong. And they, like you said, it's a silver lining maybe in some ways. The insurance companies did this to everyone across the board. So you'll talk to an individual homeowner with a small home, a small claim, they were mistreated. You see that fairly often in other storms as well. But in Puerto Rico, what we were seeing is, insurance companies mistreating big businesses, charity hospitals, legislators, just everyone across the board. So there was a real understanding in Puerto Rico that what the insurance companies were doing was wrong and it needs to stop.
Let me ask you about possible other bad actors in this whole story. One, investment companies, vulture funds that are buying up properties down there, right? They're doing basically the same thing too, aren't they? Giving $1 on a $100 value, right? And people are selling.
It's part of the same problem. It goes back to people not being paid timely and paid the correct amounts for their claims, and they're in that same desperate situation. It doesn't matter who comes in to take advantage of that, but somebody will.
There's been a lot of bad press with the Trump administration and their reaction through FEMA to Puerto Rico. What have you seen on the ground?
Well, I won't speak for the people of Puerto Rico because I wasn't in that situation, and I'm thankful for that. But if you talk to anyone on the street in Puerto Rico, they have very strong views about how they were treated or mistreated by the federal government and the federal agencies who are supposed to be there to protect them as U.S. citizens. And they feel like they were definitely mistreated and their problems were minimized or ignored.
And still feel this way today. It hasn't improved significantly.
Yeah, I think this is a generational thing that anybody lived through Maria in Puerto Rico is going to remember for a long time.
Yeah, one last question to both of you. What do you have to say to the people of Puerto Rico and what your law firm is doing for them?
I would like to say from the Mostyn Law Firm to the people of Puerto Rico, thank you. Thank you for allowing us to come in and represent you and to really help you fight your insurance company and get what you deserve. And it's been a wonderful experience. We've really enjoyed working with people of Puerto Rico.
Yeah, I would like to echo that as well, because like I said earlier, a lot of the people that we represent have been mistreated by others before they came to us, and so to earn their trust isn't easy.
Right.
And so we've had to work with them and show them what we can do and demonstrate what we can do to help them and show them some results to sort of earn that trust. And that's a big deal for us, for someone to put their home, their children and their family's home into our hands and ask us to help them rebuild it. We take that serious, and that is something we're proud to be able to help with. And we're grateful for them giving us the opportunity.
Yeah, I will also just add, there was a real, many people we talked to early on had a real sense of hopelessness. And it wasn't just because of Maria, as has been widely publicized. The island of Puerto Rico has had a lot of problems along the way, financially with the bond crisis and just a sense with the folks in Puerto Rico that it doesn't matter. Like, why should I fight this? It's not going to make a difference. So there was a very tentative curiosity at the beginning. When we first came into Puerto Rico, and still to this day, we hold a lot of public free seminars where we teach people about their rights under the insurance law and provide them with forms and information. And if they'd like our help, we will provide it. But if they want to try and do it on their own, we try and give them the resources to do that. And so it was really, I will echo what Greg said. It's been very gratifying that through that process, we've managed to gain the trust of our Puerto Rican clients.
Well, thank you both for doing what you're doing, and thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for joining us. You can get more information about our guest and the issues at insiderexclusive.com.